Let's take a moment and just allow your eyes to close. And just allow yourself to settle gently into the self. Allow yourself to fully arrive. Not just the body, but all of you. Bring all of your awareness, all of your presence, all of the love of your heart. Bring it all here into this moment. And just allow that awareness to gently settle with the breath. So instead of jumping all around on sensations or thoughts, fluctuating feeling states, instead of that, just allow the awareness to bring itself and settle on the inhale and exhale of the breath. Try to see how much subtlety of awareness you can bring to the inhalations and the exhalations. Can you feel the flow of the breath inward as it comes in into the nose, over the lip? Can you actually feel that gentle blowing of the wind as the breath comes in on the inhalation? Can you feel it at that place just outside the nose before it goes in? Allow the awareness to rest there for a moment and see how aware can you be of the breath just in that tiny space, just above the lip, below the nose, as the air is just about to go into the nose. And then see if you can bring that same quality of sharp but gentle awareness to every moment of the inhalation as it flows in through you. Follow it with the awareness. Notice if there are places that feel tight, constricted. Places where the breath doesn't seem to flow very easily. And don't judge them, don't try to fix it. Just hold that place in your loving, gentle awareness. Hold it tenderly and see whether simply the presence of your awareness causes it to shift. Does it loosen? Does it let go into the arms of your awareness? Don't force it. Just notice and allow. And on the exhalations, allow yourself to really exhale and let go. Whatever you're holding on to, some grudge, some expectation that's as yet unfulfilled, some attachment, some false sense of the self, some identity that you tell yourself about yourself. As you exhale, just exhale and let them go out into the universe. And notice as you let go more and more on the exhalations. Notice how you can sink deeper and deeper into a state, a place within the self that is spacious, that is vast, that is infinite. That is the source of yourself. Allow yourself to gently sink into that spaciousness. slowly and gently, bring your palms together at chest level and rub them gently against each other. And then press those palms into your closed eyes. Slowly open the eyes and lower the hands. Welcome to Satsang. So beautiful to be together with you all. Beginning as usual with a question that comes from our global family. We'll then open it up to any question that anyone here might have. Why do we fear God? We shouldn't fear God. I think we fear God because we've been told stories in some of our religious traditions of this very obviously all-powerful, regardless of what your religion might be, one of the indisputable facts about God is that God is all-powerful. That's what makes God God. It's that God is omnipotent. God is omniscient, all-knowing. And I think a lot of us are taught, sadly, in our religious traditions that power, that energy, is somehow punitive, that somehow it's there to punish us. I think it's a way, honestly, that a lot of our cultures, in our families, in our schools, in our societies, I think it's a way that over the last thousands of years, it's not a new thing, have been utilized to kind of keep us in line. You better eat all your vegetables or God is going to punish you. You better be quiet and do your homework or God is going to punish you. Right? We're taught these things from the time that we're young. I think because our parents, our teachers, the leaders in society don't necessarily know how else to discipline, and the idea of bringing in, a higher authority. It's like in a lot of traditional societies where the mother stays home and takes care of the kids and the father goes out to work, mothers will frequently say things like, just wait till your father gets home, like, I'm going to tell your father. And I think that there's always this sense of another authority who's going to come and punish you. And so the mom thinks, well, the kid's not listening to me, all right, I'm going to put the fear of her father in her. Now they're not listening to mother or father, well, all right, we'll put the fear of God in them. But I think it's actually a disservice because God is nothing to be feared. Do bad things happen? Absolutely. But that's much more the laws of nature than God sitting on some cloud in some part of heaven making decisions. The law of karma is science. If I walk off of a building, I'm going to fall to the ground and go splat on the ground. Not because God has punished me, but because there's this thing called gravity. And if you walk off a building, it's going to pull you to the ground. If you plant an apple seed, you're going to get an apple tree. Law of nature. And karma is just another aspect of this law of nature. It's not about God being punitive or playing favorites or, giving out rewards and punishments. God is that infinite spirit that isn't separate from us. If we fear God, we fear ourselves. We are not separate from God. God's not some being sitting separate from us, judging our deeds, who's going to punish us, hurt us, or reward us. God is within us and within all. And yes, again, based on how I treat the divine in all, that's what I'm going to receive. But that's not because of God being this being to fear. It's an energy, a spirit, oneness, all power. Remember that God created us. In the Hindu tradition, we believe that all of this, all of that which is taking place here, all of our bodies and our roles and our stories and our histories, that all of it is part of what we call Leela, God's drama, the divine drama. Meaning, we are all one with God, but we forgot. We've misidentified as being the body. We forgot that we are soul. We forgot that we are spirit. We forgot that we are divine and infinite. So we identify as the body. Thereby we think that we're very small, that we're very fleeting. We get jealous. We get greedy. We feel like we're not enough. Because we feel very small and meager and nothing, and therefore I better get more degrees or make more money or get more power so that I feel like I'm something, for God's sakes. Because we forgot we are actually God. And this is where these mool mantras are given to us, these very fundamental mantras. Things like Aham Brahmasmi, Tat Tvam Asi, Soham. Meaning, I am God, all is God, I am all. They're all just different variations of this truth, which is we are not separate from the divine. So don't fear God. You can certainly fear your karmic fruit if you're planting lots of seeds of violence and negativity and harm, because those are going to blossom in your garden. But then simply plant new seeds. It's not about cowering in fear over it. It's about recognizing, oh my God, I've planted these awful seeds. How can I fix this? How can I plant seeds of love, of compassion, of oneness, of healing? But God is there waiting for us to remember who we are and come back in conscious union, conscious reunion with God. Nothing to fear. Nothing to fear. But we just have to get out of our cultural co-opting of God to be the ultimate authoritarian or the ultimate disciplinarian. It's hard enough. We move through our lives feeling like we're not good enough in the home. we're not good enough in school, we're not good enough in the workplace, and then to have to feel like God also thinks we're not good enough, like God is also mad at us. The only thing that God wants of us is to remember who we are and to come back to God. So nothing to fear. Let us move beyond the cultural co-opting of God, back into the love, the presence, the Spirit that is in each of us and that is each of us. Questions? Yes.
Ma'am, I have a question. Why people generalized other people without knowing the facts? And I can take my responsibility, but I cannot take the responsibility of others. And how do I react with them?
Why do people judge others without knowing the facts? So, our mind likes shortcuts. It's just a product of the mind. Study psychology, study learning, and what we know is our mind takes shortcuts. There's all sorts of things that you study in psychology about all the mistakes that we make because we jump to conclusions. But it's how we work, because otherwise our minds would not be able to function very well. In order to be as fast as we need them to be with all the information that we're giving them, they have to take these shortcuts. Judgment is one of those shortcuts. We make decisions, and they're very frequently not right decisions. For example, we make decisions about people based on the color of their skin. We may be walking home one night, late, we're alone, walking down the street, and we see a person of one skin color coming toward us, and we keep going, no problem. We see a person of a different skin color coming toward us, and immediately inside we get nervous and we cross the street. No facts, no information, no nothing other than a rush to judgment based on the color of someone's skin, maybe based on what they're wearing. Now, we didn't try to be prejudiced. We didn't say, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to make a really prejudiced decision here. It's simply the mind using information it thinks is true in order to navigate our world. But this is why mindfulness and awareness and presence and consciousness is so important, because this is where discrimination comes in. Because we make decisions that have nothing to do with the person, based on not facts, based on prejudices, based on untruths, and we do it against people of certain skin colors, against people of certain religions. We do it all the time, we do it. You look at somebody, you meet somebody, you look at their clothes, in 30 seconds you figured out this is somebody I might want to be friends with, or this is somebody I might not want to be friends with. Right? Imagine you're at a party, you're mingling. How long does it take you to figure out, acha, this is somebody worth talking to, this is not somebody worth talking to? 30 seconds. What they're wearing, what they look like, the jewelry, who are they talking to? And we very frequently misjudge. Very frequently. This is where so many of the mistakes in our life come in. But recognize that we don't do it on purpose to be prejudicial. We don't do it on purpose to rush to judgment. It's just the mind doing its best to do everything it needs to do as fast as it possibly can. And in the same way that in school, as anybody, as a student ever knows who tries to rush through an exam, you make a lot of silly mistakes. You get answers wrong that you knew. You knew the right answer, but you got it wrong. Why? Because you were rushing. And then later you go, oh my God, I knew that, but I was just in such a rush to finish it. And this is why we need to slow down and bring in consciousness, bring in awareness. What is the basis of that thought that I've had? What is the basis of that decision, the basis of that judgment? Do I actually have facts? And if I have facts, do I actually know that they're true facts? That they're not just facts being fed to me by a WhatsApp mail or a YouTube mail? And this is why today it's so important that we all really commit to being conscious. Because these judgments we're making on individual levels, but also on larger levels, are dividing us, leading us into violence, grave division, harm. But that's why we do it. It's easier than thinking. We don't want to put in the time and the effort that goes actually into thinking. It's the same reason that we finish people's sentences. How many times are you trying to tell someone, a friend, a family member, a loved one, how you feel? And they just keep finishing your sentences, right? And you're like, no, that's not what I was going to say. Listen to me. But we don't actually want to listen to each other. We think we know what you're feeling, especially if you're a family member, a loved one. We think we know each other so well that we make these judgments. I know why you did this. You did that because you're selfish. You always do selfish things. You did that because you're lazy. You're always lazy. You never do anything. We never actually stop and ask, do I have actually all the facts? And are my facts facts? We jump. So it's a very important question because these rash judgments ruin our relationships. They ruin our societies. Let us all take a commitment to being a lot more curious, right? To having a lot more interest. That's very interesting. I wonder what could have made them do it, rather than thinking, I know, बेवकूफ है बिल्कुल. Right? We jump like that. ऐसे है. Instead of that, let us actually be curious. That's so interesting. I wonder why he did that. I wonder why she did that. And ask with curiosity, not with judgment, not with attacking, not why did you do that? But you're usually such a kind and compassionate and caring person, and this seems so out of character. Could you share with me maybe what's going on? Maybe I've misunderstood. Help me understand. We need to be more curious, more interested, and more aware and conscious of the games our own minds are playing. Shortcuts are not always the right way to go. As anybody who's ever tried to use, Google Maps in places where it doesn't actually know the way, right? I remember in the days when they first started, and it would have you, you're facing a building, and you're like, what? How did I get here? It would pull you off the main road, to save you some traffic. There's an app like Google Maps, but it's a different one called Waze. in America. And now I think Google bought Waze, but when Waze first came out, what made it different from Google Maps was Google Maps would always give you like the main highway, the main road. And Waze was always trying to save you 5 seconds here, 10 seconds there by taking you off here, and you'd go around these tiny little small streets. But so frequently, you'd find yourself going the wrong way on a one-way street, or you'd find yourself, literally face to face with a wall because since it happened, a big building had been put up. So I mention this because shortcuts that we think are going to get us there 30 seconds faster sometimes can get us into difficult situations. And this is where we have to use our own brain rather than just rely on our outsourced brain to the judgments that we make, the prejudices we have, the stereotypes we have. And that's all what being conscious is about. Thanks for raising that. Other questions? Yes. Yabi. Kaibi. Yawa.
Namaskar. So I'm struggling with this question of who am I, मैं कौन हूँ? So when someone asks me who am I, so I always try to answer I work in this company, I am a father of a son, and blah and blah, I'm in this place and this. But who am I is a question that I'm really struggling. So then who am I? मतलब मैं कौन हूँ?
So who am I is the quintessential question of what we call Gyan Yoga. So there's different paths of yoga. In the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna speaks of 3 main paths. Karma Yoga, path of action. Bhakti Yoga, path of devotion. And Gyan Yoga, path of wisdom. And the quintessential question on the path of Gyan Yoga is, who am I? But it's not a question to be answered by reading it in a book or hearing it in a talk, because that doesn't actually benefit you. Meaning everything I'm going to say, if you've been working on this, you've heard everything I'm going to say. I can give it to you. I can say, you are soul. You are divine. You are one with all. You are spirit. I can throw these words at you. But if you're on a path of inquiry, you know these words. You've read them, you've heard them. But Gyan Yoga is not a path of just accumulation of someone else's vocabulary words. It's actually a path of experience and realization. And in the same way that me sitting here and, reading you a recipe or reading you a menu isn't going to fill your stomach. And I can say to you, so first you take a 1/4 teaspoon of cinnamon powder, and then you take 1/2 teaspoon. It's directions. But at the end of the day, if all you've done is listen to me read you the recipe, you're not actually going to have the apple pie. You're just going to know what goes into it. But then you actually have to bake it to have it. You have to actually do it. The work with who am I is not an intellectual question. And this is the real opportunity and difficulty with the Gyan Yoga path. Because it can lend itself to intellectual inquiry that just feeds our own intellectual egos. Because then we say, I know so much. Listen, you want to hear me recite the Bhagavad Gita? You want to hear me recite this? Look at all the mantras I know. I'm so smart, I know everything. It can play into that ego that keeps us farther from the truth. We feel like every new mantra we have learned or every new Sanskrit term we have learned that somehow we are farther along on our path, but we're not. All we've done is put more into our brain. Now, mantras are beautiful. Yes, of course, we should learn them. But unless your breath is chanting the mantras and it is who you are, it's not actually taking you further. The path of inquiry in Gyan Yoga is a path in which I'm sitting to meditate. It's not that I'm driving my brain crazy asking these questions. Because I've already told you the answers. But it doesn't benefit you unless you experience them. And the way that you do that is in your meditation, you allow that question to essentially be a mantra, meaning it keeps asking. Not the intellectual mind, but just in the background, on your breath. Who am I? Who am I? Who am I? Don't use the brain to give an answer. We're not looking for a report on it. Well, according to so-and-so, I am this, and according to so-and-so, I'm that, and in Sanskrit, it's this, and in Pali, it's that. It's not what you're looking for. You're looking for the question itself. Think of the question itself as the bricks being laid on a path you are walking. So you're literally using that question to walk farther and farther. And it's taking you deeper and deeper. It's not a question to be answered by your mind. It's a question to take you beyond the mind. And just keep asking it. Just keep allowing it to literally reverberate in you, the sound of the question. Because simply asking the question changes everything. As you ask, you automatically know what you are not. So as you're going deeper, who am I? Who am I? Who am I? You're automatically lessening the grip that all of that false identity has on you. As you ask the question, the role of this and that, it just drops away. And you drop deeper and deeper. So don't worry about the answer. Just keep asking the question. Yeah. Beautiful. Yeah.
Pranam, Hare Krishna. So my question is, why bad things or bad experiences happens with good people? I mean, even if you are kind, compassionate, truthful to someone, or all of the people you meet in your life, but there is no guarantee that all the people whom you meet gonna reciprocate the same to you. I mean, even if we see the life of Lord Krishna, Lord Rama, they also had so much suffering, but still they are God. But being a human, it's tough to overcome that and still be kind and follow the same path you have been following throughout.
Beautiful. So expectations are a really sticky place on a spiritual path because on the one hand, we couldn't live without expectations. If I don't expect that the architects who built this hall did so with intelligence and that the roof is not going to fall on us, I couldn't sit here nearly so peacefully and calmly. If I didn't expect that my loved ones were all still going to be alive and healthy when I wake up in the morning, or that I was still going to be alive and healthy in the morning, it would be really hard to go to sleep at night. If I couldn't expect that my house wasn't going to burn down overnight, it would be really hard to go to sleep. So we have to have expectations. And in the same way, when you are in relationship, we have to have expectations on some level that you are going to not betray me, not abuse me, that if I tell you my deepest secret, that you're not going to publish it on the front page of the newspaper or send it to everybody by WhatsApp. There has to be that level of expectation. Otherwise, I would never open up. I would never trust. And if I don't trust, if I don't open my heart, then I miss out on life. Then I live in a jail cell. So if I'm going to open my heart and love and trust, I have to have an expectation that you are going to take care of that. Like if I say to you, if I hand you something that, let's say this is something very precious. Let's say we go down to Ganga, let's say, and I'm going to go for Ganga Snan, and maybe I'm wearing a really expensive watch, and maybe it's a family heirloom. And I take it off and I say, hey, could you hold this for me while I have Ganga Snan? Well, I have to have enough of an expectation that you're not going to run away and steal it while I'm having my Ganga bath. Or that you're not going to take it and smash it on the ground and break it before I can get out. So we need to have expectations in order to be able to live. And we need to have a very, very light grip on those expectations. Most of us, we have an expectation and it's like we've got it in a death grip. You better be exactly the way I think you should be. Because see, I've got my death grip on you, and if not, I'm going to die. It has to be a very light grip because so frequently the world does not go according to our expectation. And it's like if our expectation is sinking, you need to have a light enough grip on it that you don't sink with it. If I'm grabbing onto it, well then if my expectation sinks, what I expected of someone, if they sink in their character, in their honesty, in their compassion, in their truthfulness, in their loyalty, well if they sink, and I'm totally stuck with how they were supposed to be and I've grabbed on, well then I sink also. So my grip on that expectation has to be very light. I have it, but the moment I realize it's not being fulfilled, I need to let it go. And you mention about Bhagwan Ram and Bhagwan Krishna, and these are examples I actually use all the time because what they teach us is not only being good doesn't mean that bad things won't happen. But even being God doesn't mean bad things won't happen. I mean, who are you, God ke samne? Right? I mean, we think, my God, I was so good, I was so nice, I was so kind. How did this happen? But then we've got these beautiful epics of what happens when God comes on earth to remind us, oh, you think you're a good person? Well, how do you compare to Bhagwan Ram? You're that good? Obviously, none of us are. I mean, that's the whole point. But even so, when you think God is coming on earth in human form, surely God could come in any form that God wants. God could design any karmic package that God wanted. I mean, it's God after all. Why do we have over and over and over again in the stories of the divine in form struggle I think, to remind us that this is a package deal of taking on a human form. There will be jealousy, there will be ego, there will be ignorance, there will be betrayal, there will be this. And even when you are God on earth, there will be struggle. People will try to harm you, people will try to kill you, people will banish you, people will do everything. And so it's a reminder to us that it's not tit for tat. It's not how the world works. I mean, think about it. Let's say you were walking down the street and there was a dog, okay? And you went, oh, and you lovingly pet the dog, okay? And the dog bit you and took a chunk out of your arm, okay? Now, you'd say, my God, I was just being nice, I was being loving, this dog. But if you find out that the dog has rabies, what we would call a mad dog, well, then you would just say, basically, it's just my bad luck. Like, I pet the wrong dog. Because we understand that dog is sick. Mad dog doesn't mean it's got something, genetically wrong. It means it's got rabies. It's got a disease due to which it bites, it's violent, it's unpredictable. Well, the same thing is true with people. When people harm us in vicious ways, unprovoked ways, just realize they are living in a state of illness. Because if they were well, they would be sharing wellness. People who are sharing illness, it's because that's what they've got. When somebody's got a cold or a flu and they sneeze all over you, well, it's not that they woke up that morning saying, I know what I'm going to do, I'm going to get you sick. It's just that they're sick, and you happen to be close by, and they're sneezing and they're coughing. And so when people metaphorically sneeze and cough and get their sickness all over you, just realize it's because they are unwell. You can think about the mad dog. You can think about it like someone with a flu. But it's not about you. You make the same mistake we all make, which is, why is it I'm a good person? I've done good things. Why is it happening to me? But you've put all of the emphasis on to you. It's not about you. It's about them. It's like saying, but I'm such a good person, why did I get sick? Well, because you stood too close to somebody who was sick and sneezing. It's not about being a good person or a bad person. The dog's got rabies, not your fault. In the same way, when people are mean and betray and harm, just think about it like that. But don't feel like it's something about you. But lastly, do protect yourself. If you know that dog's got rabies, or this person's got COVID or a bad flu or whatever it is, don't stand too close. Take care of yourself. Yeah. Are you with us tomorrow? Aap kal bhi hai apne saath? Wonderful. So we'll start tomorrow with your question. Okay. Have a beautiful, beautiful rest of your evening. I look so forward to seeing you all here tomorrow. We'll start with your question. And a beautiful morning and day to our family joining us from all over the world through our gift of technology. And so much love to all of you.
शङ्कर चन्द्रशेखर गङ्गा